have Campfire Stories by Special Winlet. Gather around a theatrical campfire to hear Twin Cities artists and Horror Fest favorites tell their personal stories with the supernatural. It's like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Except these stories are true. Special Winlet, the Fae, Incarnate, Stabby Stab Stab, and Kin, is known for spectacle, and Campfire Stories is no different, with live music and effects to make it a full spooky season experience. Trick or treat, there are 2 versions of the show in rotation, so you can maximize your Halloween season with more spine-tingling content. Horror genres are supernatural stories and music. Language is 4, blood is 1, suggested age is 13, and it's curated by Nissa Nordland and directed by Sarah Nargan.
Penny, could you take out the lights, please? Can we make some mood here? Just take them out. Thank you. There were 3 ghosts in my grandparents' house. I saw the first one when I was 5. There was a bedroom upstairs, and there was one of those closets that you could get into, but you had to duck down, like a crawl space, in the shape of the roof. I was laying on the bed, which for some reason faced that closet, and I saw come out an old woman. I screamed and I called for my grandfather, and he said, "What's going on? What is it?" I said, "There's an old woman in the closet." He said, "There's nothing there. Just go back to sleep." I said, "No, I know she's there. She watches me. She watches me, and she reaches for me." He said, "No, this is just a nightmare, sweetie. You need to go back to bed." I said, "No. She likes to look out the window. She comes out of the closet. She looks at me, and she walks out to the window because she likes to look outside." There was a second ghost in the house. We called him the Sentry. You would hear his footsteps coming from the top of the stairs and going all the way down into the living room and then to the back of my grandfather's house, which was a wood shop. He would pass through by the bedroom back there as well. My dad, as a teenager, would hear these footsteps, and he thought, "Oh, Dad's going to get a late night beer," because there was a fridge hidden back there. But one night when he first asked his dad, he's like, "Wow, that was a late night beer." And he said, "What are you talking about?" "I didn't go get a beer last night." The Sentry always made my cousin feel protected. When she moved in and lived with my grandparents as a teenager, she would hear those footsteps and felt like someone was watching over her, making sure that she was safe. I loved to practice piano in the back of the house. We had a stand-up piano there in my grandfather's carpentry shop. I was about 12. I lived with my grandparents at this time. And I would go, and even in the summer's heat, it would be freezing cold. I would sit down, my little fingers going across the ivory keys, discovering notes, discovering how to play. And I would suddenly stiffen up. And I would feel like someone was standing just over my shoulder. I was not welcome here. Every time I turned around, there was still no one there. But I knew I had to leave. My hands were done. I would close up the piano keys and go back into the main part of the house, which again was now heat and warm in the summer, unlike its freezing predecessor. When we moved out of the house, it became like this sort of recording studio, and as the guy had been working to remodel the place, he felt like he had some weird vibes happening in the house. So he asked a psychic to come in. And the psychic said, there are 3 ghosts in this house. There is an old woman who likes to live in the closet. She likes to come out sometimes. She likes to look outside. The second is an old man. He watches over the old woman. He visits her up in the closet and then walks down the stairs, down into the living room, to the back of the house. And he checks on the third entity, a suicide, who stays in the back of the house, angry and upset, and does not want to be disturbed.